My mother has autism. She raised me the best way that she could, and I've always looked out for her. She's somebody that made me feel complete. And I just always thought I could never have my own love life because people won't understand the relationship I have with my mom. Well, that's when I met the love of my life at my workplace. And I want to get married to her. I want to have kids with her. But when I told her about my mom having autism, this is how she reacted. Hey guys, it's, a long story. You know it's rare to fall for someone who's really a pure soul because we have more chances to get a red flag. I wish I could be as fortunate as my parents were, so let me introduce them to you. As you know why I wanted a love story like theirs, but maybe I have different struggles in life because things have just started getting worse and worse than I ever expected. I believe that things were fine between my wife Deanna and my mom. Deanna just had recently moved in. It's not been long since we got married and she organized a house party calling all her friends at my place. I was to come late that night, so I let her enjoy her time. I thought that Mom and Deanna were finally getting well together. Till then, I was unaware of the fact that Deanna was the party animal, and once she got drunk, she becomes out of her senses. If I had the slightest idea that she would be so irresponsible around Mom, I would have never let her party at home. In fact, I would have booked an entire club for her. Anyways, the damage was done because I got a call from my nurse that at 2 a.m., I was on an international call with my client at the office because of the party, and, the office is the place where I could focus best, especially at a time like this. The nurse hurriedly informed me that my wife was misbehaving with her, and Mom had an anxiety attack, and she needed immediate medical attention. I was worried for both, and a part of me was a little hurt because of Deanna, who I cannot trust around Mom. Later, I found that Deanna got into a fight with the nurse, but Deanna's friend saved her. It led me and Deanna into a nasty argument. After being sobered up, she promised to never let it happen again. Not only that, she also apologized to the nurse for losing her calm, because of which she had agreed to rejoin. Let me tell you my backstory of how things led to this, though. My mom, she's 67, she's in her late 60s, but in her mind she's still just like a 12-year-old kid. She's such a pure joy soul that my dad, who by the way is no more unfortunately, has fallen so hard for her that he fought the entire world just to be with her and take care of her. Mom was actually born with autism. Her brain developed really slow, which led to her struggles in learning to grasp simple things. As she grew up, she turned into a simpleton who still retained some childlike thought processes, yet she's aware of the relationship and responsibility she had. So at least she acts like a mother, trying to take care of me in her own way, if not like every other conventional mom. But her intentions are easy to understand. I've seen Dad, how concerned and loving that he's been towards her. For the world, he was a successful businessman, but when he fell for Mom's innocence, that world had been harsh upon him. His family was the first to turn against him, and he was compelled to move away from them, leaving his generational wealth and business to get away from the judgmental people. Being an ambitious person, Dad achieved more than enough that he was able to earn even more to spend lavishly without caring about his income. As he loved Mom so much, he did everything to give her a happy and comfortable lifestyle. According to Mom, she had tried to be a perfect wife to take care of Dad and her home, but in real life that was quite the opposite. As I've learned from my dad, he never made her feel like it, not to let her feel degraded. So as I approached teenage years, I gradually learned to help out Mom with household stuff and take over the responsibility of taking care of the house and Mom. But since Dad had his earnings, the responsibility of taking care of both Mom and the household was not a big deal, because Dad had appointed nurses and caretakers to serve and look after Mom. The rest of the housework was taken care of by the household. So technically, homemaking was something in automated mode, as no one had to do anything as such apart from supervision. By the time I was able to complete high school, my dad had been diagnosed with prostate cancer. He was worried about both of us, and seeing Mom's condition and her medical expenses on a daily basis for her medications and therapy. He kept that in mind, knowing that once I grew up, I would not have to be burdened by spending my money on her. So he deposited a large, major part of his savings into Mom's bank account, and he gave me the rest, which was enough for me to have a comfortable life, even in the case of an emergency. But besides our great financial situation, you can imagine how tormenting it is to be for a child to see either of his parents living their last time in life. We could not hide that from Mom either. Dad especially promised to take care of her and never let her just feel his absence. It made her really depressed. And it exactly turned out like that because his death took a heavy toll on her mental health. I felt helpless and could not make up for his absence even though I myself had been suffering from the pain in the situation. I felt I was all alone, unable to hold myself together, and I started sobbing. But when Mother witnessed me in this state, she actually came to console me. For the first time in my life, I felt that I had a mother beside me to take care of me, and I was not alone. She gave me company to empathize with the loss of my dad, and things turned out to be a little better the next day. Though she was depressed, she recognized my emotions as well. Well, she became cooperative, and therapy helped to heal her faster from the trauma and loss. Since that day, my bond with Mom has strengthened because I stopped feeling like a mere responsible man, as I was now the man of the house. Well, somehow I got occupied in my life with a job that I've received through placements, even though it was quite difficult to get one. Dealing with this emotional turmoil, my mental state during interview rounds was not at its peak, which affected my career opportunities to some extent, I'd say. But I could forgive myself for that. After all, I am human, and I could not expect unrealistic things for myself. I took a job that was near home, and when I was away, thanks to technology, I taught my mom, etc. The nurses and caretakers were on speed dial and kept in touch in case of anything, but I didn't require that. Luckily, not so far at least. I always have dinner and breakfast with Mom, which turns out to be my daily routine. I didn't have much of a social life, and talking about my love life, I almost gave up on that, because I hardly had hopes for anyone who could take care of my mom. Well, I mean, at least give the company to my mom, because I know that she still often gets depressed when she's alone. I would not risk her leaving alone, because I don't like to consider my mom as baggage. She's a part of my life, and I could not think of being with someone who could not accept her as well, which obviously reduced my chances of finding a mate. I often felt jealous of Dad because he had found someone like Mom who still spends an hour before bedtime talking to Dad's picture, and the first thing she sees every morning when she wakes up is his photograph, cutting the cake every year on his birthday, even after 5 years of his death. I'll update you guys soon. Update number 1. Hey guys, I'm back with another update to continue off from last time. So I was busy being pessimistic about my love life and my mom's condition, and finally my hopes were enlightened when I met my manager, Deanna. She was no less than Aphrodite. She felt out of my league, and the only way that I'd get her attention was through her response to my work. At least that could make an impression on her. She was 3 years my senior, and I was scared that she might not be single. One day, finally, when I was able to get some compliments on my work, that helped boost up my confidence, and I asked her out for some coffee. That way I could ask if she was single or dating somebody else. My fingers were actually crossed behind my back when I put forth that question. Her answer brought all the hope that I could have ever imagined. Aspirations, dreams, right into my life. I was overjoyed and ready to grab my chance to sweep her off her feet and ask her out. She was surprised because she did not expect things to turn so fast. Well, honestly, even I didn't know that, and at the time I was not thinking at all. I just asked her out without realizing how far I could go on being in a relationship with her. Maybe I was just going with the flow, hoping and praying with every passing day to make it last forever. I started saving for the ring to ask her out so that I could take the relationship to the next stage. As soon as the ring was delivered, I picked it out, especially from the jewelry store. I could not wait to marry the love of my life. It was like a dream had come true. It had been more than a month, but I had already started seeing my future with her. Yeah. All that while, I was going through the happy-go phase with everything, just seemed excited, and a little bit of reality hit me when I had to come home one day. I realized that I was forgetting Mom, who sometimes misses me while I was busy enjoying my love life. This realization occurred to me when I was informed by the caretaker and housekeeper who showed me her discarded pills. And the caretaker told me about her uncooperative behavior, her tendency to get isolated, and her refusal to respond. This worried me because I could not understand what went wrong with her. I took the meals and her medication to talk with her, but as soon as I called her, she greeted me, and she looked so normal. She took her medicine without complaining and had her meal. When I asked about her, she gave me all the positive responses, and just before leaving her room, she bid me goodnight and said that she always would be waiting for me, even if I forgot to come back to her. Well, that day, I realized that she was just trying to seek attention so that she could spend some time with me. She just wanted to be seen and heard by me. I regretted that I got so self-occupied that I forgot that my mom had hardly anybody to spend her time with, who is her only family. She never demanded or asked anything from me except from Dad. From me, she just asked for her time. And in the midst of this realization, I got distracted by Deanna's call. Seeing her name flash on my screen and looking at Mom through the window, busy having her bedtime talk with Dad's picture, reminded me of my past worry. I could only accept the person in my love life who would love my mom as much as I do, and all they have to do is accompany her just like I've been doing. Well, but some things cannot be forced, just like Deanna actually liking me back, and well, now she has to like my mom the same way. And how could one possibility after another even exist like this? I was confused by the time the phone stopped ringing. So I started giving my relationship some thought to see if she would be ready to accept me and my family the way that we were. So I planned to invite her to dinner at my place and get her introduced to Mom. I prepared the dinner and told Mom that I was bringing somebody important home. And I showed her the ring that I bought for Diana. She smiled, nodded, and started telling this to Dad's picture. She was really excited to meet someone new, though she did have social anxiety a bit about meeting new people, due to her past experiences that she had faced, but her motherly love was way more than her own issues. And I really appreciated her for that, because I really want Mom to be comfortable with someone who's going to be a part of our family. And Mom's approval matters to me, even if she won't protest it in any way or give advice. But I want her to have a daughter as well to look after her. Things turned out to be positive, thank goodness, and as soon as Mom saw her, she turned shy and anxious in her presence that she started hiding away from Deanna. But somehow I comforted her and introduced and explained to her that Deanna was the person that I wanted her to meet. At the same time, I told Deanna about my mom's condition. She understood it without question and greeted her politely by offering her the plum cake that she made to gift us. As per the plans I proposed to Deanna, it felt like I hit the jackpot when she agreed. I was celebrating my happiness, and Deanna offered a slice of cake to Mom, and she shoved that away by shaking her head because Mom didn't like it. Deanna disliked it and glared at her, and I tried to calm down the situation, but just then I got a call from the office. So, I go outside because I knew it was important and it would take a bit of time. As soon as the call was over, all of a sudden I heard the sound of something breaking, following Deanna shouting, so I rushed back. Mom looked scared and Deanna looked furious. Looking at me, she started complaining about how Mom had spilled wine on her white dress. Mom was so nervous, she could not think of apologizing, so I did on her behalf. I told her that Mom is autistic and she might not be well versed with pleasantries, etiquettes, or formalities. Mom could not understand much and she got scared when she glared at her. She could not utter a word. Mom was on the verge of an anxiety attack. So, to calm her down, I sent her inside the bedroom to have some sleep and come back to Diana. I helped her clean the stain and volunteered to drop her off. On the way home, I bought her ice cream to cheer her mood so that I could tell her the truth about my circumstances and the condition I was putting forth. Seeing her smiling and joking around, I told her that living with my mom and spending some amount of time with her on a daily basis was really important for her mental health because she had a hard time dealing with depression when Dad left. I promised her that she did not have to do anything for her except give her some time because rest is taken care of by nurses. When she asked about financial expenditures on her behalf, I told her that there's no such need because Dad had left an optimum amount of money under her name that I did not have to need to, worry about paying a penny for it. Deanna was having a serious expression. She simply nodded and said that she would think over it, and I don't know if you guys will agree. I wouldn't blame her if she didn't want to stay with Mom. Am I glad that she chose me with Mom? Yeah, but somewhere the house party incident and her outburst in her first meeting had me to doubt her. Or am I just overthinking? Update number 2. Hey guys, I actually need your help right now. I'm so much confused right now about whom to believe. The wedding bells rang and we both welcomed Deanna into our family. Along with that, I also got a promotion. I was given a project that would require me to live away from my state. Since Deanna was still not entirely family and, familiar with the household, especially with Mom, and Mom was still reserved around her presence, so I did not accept the promotion right away because I didn't want any of them to have a hard time adjusting to each other. I thought of a few plans so that they could get to know one another, like dinners, movies, and road trips to short distances, and things worked little by little, though not great. But at least Mom started being less anxious, and I was relieved that at least it worked out between them. Even Deanna began understanding Mom's responses and behavior because Mom doesn't speak much. I admired Deanna's patience while dealing with her, but as I said about my promotion, which was still pending, I informed them about accepting it. I signed in for the project without worrying, and just then this house party incident occurred. I didn't have the option to back off now, but after Deanna's promise and apology, I let it go, and made sure to always stay in touch with Mom, if not every day, but at least once a week. She bid me goodbye, and as usual, the nurses and caretakers were on speed dial, so it was easier to keep track of her health. The project was quite hectic. It required me to stay on site, submit timely reports, and commute with the contractor. I'd say it took about 10 hours to 12 hours, and I had a few weeks before the deadline, or otherwise the company would face penalty issues. At least I did not need to make time to text Deanna asking about her and Mom. That could be done on a daily basis. I always send voice messages to Mom, knowing she won't be able to read from time to time. On weekends, I always video call both of them. Mom somehow looked different, but Deanna always said that I was just overthinking it. One day I get a text from a nurse saying that she had resigned from her job. She only said that her job was over and I could not conclude much living far away like this. After all, I trusted Deanna, so there's no point in doubting her. Finally, the project was over, successfully, and I could not wait to meet my family. I bought presents for everyone. When I arrived, Deanna welcomed me warmly, and I was taken aback by the scars on her face. Also, Mom wasn't found anywhere. Deanna's expression changed as her smile faded, and she said that she had no choice but to admit her straight to the hospital because she was not mentally stable and could harm anybody around her. I could not believe this. But then she started sobbing and showed me some of the wounds on her shoulders and arms. They were random cuts and bruises. One was so deep and was at a risk of getting stitches. I was shocked at Mom's behavior and felt extremely sorry and stupid for leaving Mom alone. She exclaimed that Mom's anger issues were getting worse. Many times she broke her things, threw her meals, and refused to take any medication. Doctors prescribed injecting her with tranquilizers, and after seeing her under condition, they suggested getting her admitted to a mental hospital. She had no choice but to send her, otherwise they would have filed a case against her for keeping antisocial people out of social settings. I have no idea how to make this thing better between the two of them. I wondered what Mom must have gone through, something while I was away from her. What triggered her so badly that was what she never was that kind of person ever, who was such violent outburst. In fact, she did the exact opposite of that. But the wounds on Deanna's limbs say otherwise. I could not figure out how to make things right. Please help and suggest to me what you should do. What should I believe in? Update number 3. Hey guys, it's me again. Well, I hope you're doing well, and if you're not, here's some drama as a sort of reward for sticking with me this long. Now that I've realized that I've been blinded by love for so long, I failed to trace the signs beforehand. I suggest you don't be like me, and the sad reality is that I'm not as lucky as my parents to find their true lover. This was how it was. I asked Deanna to at least book my appointment so that I could get to know about Mom. I had not even been long since I've returned, and it's been merely 2 days since I found time after rejoining. I reverted back to my old habits of making some time for Mom, but when she was not around, I was waiting just to meet with her. So, Deanna said that the doctors have denied giving appointments because her therapy is already scheduled. She also said that I should have some patience since I'm not used to living away from her. She'll be fine. After my conclusion, I waited for a day or two, but the next morning I get an email as a reminder for a pending bill payment. It was from the hospital where Mom's been receiving her therapy and the nurses that were appointed as caretakers for Mom. It was the same hospital where she was admitted. My bills never went pending. I tried making the payment thinking that I've been absent for quite a while and that it must have been forgotten by Deanna. But while making the payment, it denied me, saying I had insufficient balance. How's that possible? I thought of going to the bank to get it checked myself, but then all of a sudden I saw a red car parked in front of my door. Deanna immediately came running towards me and pulled me to show me the new car that she purchased from her savings. She wants me to take a test drive, and when I turned around I saw a few toys. When I asked, she told me to drive it first and she would tell me on the way. We had a great ride, and she broke the news that she was expecting. I was overjoyed by the news and really miss Mom badly. And thinking about that, the same question popped into my mind. That went wrong. What happened to the bill payment? I thanked Deanna for the ride and told her that I would be back soon because if I told her, she would not have been convinced that I was overthinking. So, I went to the bank, and it stated that the same thing was happening. There's no money in Mom's account. Even the papers had signed of Mom's amateur handwriting giving away the money to Deanna. Really? And why would she do that? I thought to ask Mom, and the timing was so good because I just got a call from the hospital telling me that the due date has been pending. Otherwise, they'll soon send the patient away to an old age home shelter after getting family members' consent. I rushed back to the hospital to pick her up and asked her about her recent reports regarding her anger issues and everything that Deanna talked about. The doctor gave me a questionable look and asked if I knew my mother, better than how I could believe her. But I had a reason that she had shown me the wounds that she got, and the doctor seemed kind of shocked and showed me the reports to support his claim with evidence. I could not understand how Deanna could get hurt if nothing was wrong with Mom. I knew she was not that kind of person. So, I made the payment from my bank account and hired the nurse to look after Mom. When I met her, she cried out of happiness, and I could see how badly she had missed me while I was away. I took her with me, thought I could not get the old nurse back, but her junior had agreed to file in the vacancy. Once I reached home, I saw the luggage cartons being carried towards my house. It seemed like new furniture. I told the nurse to wait outside with Mom, and I went inside and asked Deanna about it. She told me that she's bought new furniture for our baby's room. I was shocked to find the furniture was placed in Mom's room. She exclaimed that if Mom wasn't living here any longer, at least we could utilize the space. I instantly called the nurse to come inside, and Deanna was shocked at the sight of Mom standing along with the nurse. It was understood by her that Mom was living with us, but things got unexpected when Mom had an anxiety attack at the sight of Deanna, and she started hiding away from her. The nurse understood her reaction, and she was informed about the case before taking over. She took her to my room where she could be comfortable, and later, the nurse even informed me that the patient only gets scared of those who have the potential to harm them. She asked me if they had any rifts in between because it was not normal at all. When I reached Diana, I saw her sulking in her room, and the dots started connecting how the money disappeared from the Mom's account, and Deanna bought the car right after that. The timing looks a little weird, even if Deanna had not sent Mom away. The only thing that bothered me was how she got wounded. So I asked how she was, and we decided to get her full body checked out as a precaution for our upcoming baby. Also, one of the scars, which was deeper, still hasn't healed yet. She got instantly nervous, and I told her to stay calm, which is the most important thing, and I left Mom under the nurse's surveillance and took her to the hospital. I told her, well, the doctor especially, to have a look at her injuries, her bruises, cuts, and wounds. They were all analyzed, and it was quite distinguishable for the doctor what kind of wounds came under self-harm. All my doubts were confirmed when I got the report. Believe me, this was the most horrifying part for someone who's in love with the person. Well, it's so dangerous that they could deliberately harm themselves. The doctor had warned them to stay careful with such patients. It's not safe to be around them, and suddenly the world clicked in my mind. I called the psychiatrist from the hospital where Mom was admitted, breaking the news. He was concerned for me and offered to admit such patients, so I called them to pick up the patient from the given address because I could not guarantee that things would go crazy. Back at home, I confronted Deanna by questioning her about the papers that she got signed by my mom. And I asked her about savings, which were not enough before the money transfers, according to the bank statement. She gets nervous and starts using pregnancy as an excuse to justify her actions, saying commuting was getting difficult, etc. But my question was that if the car could be purchased by me, she would require it to be taken away from Mom's account. She gets furious and said that the old woman was going to die anyways. And she was sick and tired of her childlike behavior. She doesn't need that money. The nurse and Mom have been listening to the conversation, and seeing her furious, Mom started crying. Annoyed by this, she grabbed a pillow to bury her face, telling her to stop making noises. The nurse, trying to defend her, got kicked by Deanna. She was getting violent, and I told her arm to pull her away. And just then the doctor team arrived just in time to handle the situation. She tried to threaten me by saying that she would divorce me on the basis of domestic violence and would take half of my possessions. Her attempt was futile, as she was admitted to the hospital and declared antisocial, officially by the doctor, and reports concluded the same. Well, apart from that, her mental condition has now been confirmed as unstable, so her finances were also managed by me, which obviously went for Mom's treatment. Whatever amount of money was taken away, the car was sold at a good price without incurring drastic losses. Final update. This time when her due date was pending for all the bills, I gave my consent to shift her to an NGO, because she did not deserve any ounce of my money. The divorce proceedings are still going on, and I know you guys must be judging me for leaving her pregnant in a mental hospital, but the doctors have suggested that it's not right for her to get pregnant because of her violent behavior. She could even harm her own child as well, and I was not interested in that either. So I tipped them to drop the child because she would use her pregnancy as, well, to claim my possession. And I'm confident that the rest of the decision will be my favor because I can afford a lawyer. Moreover, I have bank statements to support my evidence of how she tried to take away the money. Well, I don't know if this story is real, but can you imagine if it was? What an insane amount of events. I mean, first we have OP, who is being raised by his autistic mother, and he saw a lot of struggles trying to grow up, survive, and just move on, and basically move out of his house, go and get a love life started, and it all always revolved back to his mom. So that was hard for him to cope and deal with. And then on the other hand, he meets Deanna, who seems like the most perfect human being to him, and she's so welcoming of the mom at first. All this to find out some crazy things when he returned from that business trip. But I think the most insane part of the story is when Deanna gets admitted to the mental health hospital, the same place that she sent OP's mom. I mean, this story was wild. I want to know your thoughts about it, guys, so let's talk about it down below in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts, your feelings, and what you would have done if you were in OP's position. My name's Mr. Reddito. I narrate stories like this every day, so if you do want to be a part of these daily readings, go ahead, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys tomorrow. And of course, just remember, it's cool to be kind. Peace.